All right, so 1993's Hocus Pocus is directed by Kenny Ortega, screenplay by Mick Garris and Neil Cuthbert, story by David Kirshner and Mick Garris, my bad. And it stars Bette Midler as Winifred. We have Sarah Jessica Parker as Sarah. We have Kathy Najimy as Mary. We got Omri Katz as Max. We got Thora Birch as Danny, Vanessa Shaw as Allison, Doug Jones as Billy Butcherson, and either Sean Murray or Jason Marsden as Thackeray Binks. There's two actors credited as Thackeray, so a little confused there. But yeah, I mean, what can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said? To be honest, it is a cult classic. A lot of people revisit this film every Halloween. For me personally, it's been quite a while since I've seen it. Probably not since I was a kid. And there's a lot I didn't remember. And obviously, I'm watching this in preparation for the sequel, which I still have not watched yet. It's actually been a few days since I've watched Hocus Pocus 1, so forgive me if this isn't the most like in-depth review or anything like that, but just wanted to come on and talk about this for a little bit, kind of give my opinions on it and see how I feel about this movie overall in terms of, a really good Halloween movie. But yeah, I mean, what can I say about the cast already? The Sanderson sisters, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy, they are iconic characters and honestly could never be replaced by anybody. I mean, they make this film. I mean, you have some fun characters like Thackeray Binks. I really do like that character. In fact, I would say it's probably my favorite character in the movie. But you also have like Billy Butcherson, which is a very iconic character that people really like in this movie, and I believe he's coming back for the sequel. I mean, there's so much to enjoy about this, and there's so many iconic lines, as I said before. There's so much fun to be had with this movie. But at the same time, it's not the kind of movie I feel like revisiting every Halloween. There's so many other movies I would prefer to rewatch or watch for the first time around the Halloween season rather than watching this one. Nothing completely against the film, but it's just not as much of a classic in my mind as it is for so many others. Like my mom, for instance, she really loves this film, revisits it every Halloween, or at least mostly every Halloween. So, stuff like that. I can appreciate this movie for a lot of aspects in it. It did something, I would say, pretty different for the time, which is essentially making a horror movie for children. But, like being under the Disney confines, I guess you could say, there's only so much they can do with that. But at the same time, like, holy crap, this movie is dark. There are a lot of adult themes, a lot of adult humor, and just a lot of really dark themes to it overall. You know, there's literally a child that dies in this movie towards the beginning. And I'm sure for a lot of people who haven't watched this in a while, they'd be surprised to hear that. Or maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they remember it a lot more than I do. But that was a very surprising thing for me. Basically, in the first like 10 minutes, they kill a kid. The Sanderson sisters are essentially taking her life force away from her. You don't see her like die right there, but basically what you see is this kid just like draped in the chair, head down, not moving at all, has gray hair because her life force was sucked out, and it was to make the Sanderson sisters look younger. And it's just like, that's some really dark shit for basically a kid's movie by Disney. And then you have like the adult themes in there, like Sarah Jessica Parker's character in here is very much sexualized. I wonder how they're going to do that in the second one, if she's going to be as much of a sexualized character. But in this, for sure, like there's so many sexual awakenings for little kids that are going to come from this character, or probably already have come from the character. I remember as a kid, even being really young, just being like, oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot of skin that they're showing with that character. Because, excuse me, sorry, I'm still getting over COVID. But you have like Winifred and Mary, who are, a little on the heavier side, I guess you could say, and their costumes are a lot bigger and poofier. Winifred even kind of looks like the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland with the way that her it's not a corset. You know what I mean though? Like the way her costume is just big and flowing, I guess you could say. It's just like you got these big, almost ballroom gowns with some of these characters, and then with Sarah's character, Sarah Jessica Parker's character, um, they aren't afraid to show skin with her. She's got like these stockings and stuff where you can see the skin underneath. I mean, I'm not like a conservative person or anything like that, but for a kids movie, it just seems very sexualized and very surprising. Just even at the time, I kind of knew how sexualized that character was, but even just watching it now and with the added aspects of so many other adult themes in this movie, it's just so surprising to me that Disney, even for the time, got away with this. So I definitely think they're going to change up a lot about the new movie, but you never know. Um, but yeah, some other adult themes there, like the mom in this movie. The mom and dad are at a Halloween party, and the mom's wearing a Madonna costume where she literally looks like Katy Perry in that California Girls music video with the, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm just like, in a Disney movie? Like, my God, there's so many Disney things I need to go back and watch now to see, like, if there are any underlying adult themes that I just didn't pick up as a kid. I'm sure there are plenty instances. But speaking of which, I really want to rewatch the Halloween Town films. So I'm thinking I might rewatch all those movies and do a review for each of them. If that's something you're interested, comment down below. I would love to know because that is definitely a movie series that I loved as a kid in terms of like Disney Halloween movies. But yeah, a lot of dark and adult themes in this movie that just really surprised me on my rewatch. And it makes me think like, hey, is this appropriate for kids? Like I can't remember how old I was when I first watched this movie, but by today's standards, I mean, I guess there's worse things that they could be watching, but at the same time, it's just surprising. Like overall, the most adult thing in this movie is just how sexualized the character of Sarah is. Like, man, like the bus driver, he's talking to her like, "Oh, did you know you're easy on the eyes or whatever?" She's like sitting on his lap, and at times I'm just like, "Oh my God, what are they doing under there?" I'm just like, "Oh my," it's a little sus. I can't lie. And then there's like the elements where the Sanderson sisters end up at this one dude's house dressed as the devil, and Sarah's dancing with the devil essentially, and it's questionable, that's for sure. But like you have these elements of very sexualized characters, very adult themes, very very dark themes. And then at other times you have like these themes that are aimed more towards kids with the character of Max and Danny, like their brother and sister relationship. They start off kind of being very annoyed by each other, but over time, like especially as shit starts to go down more, um and Danny like gets captured by the Sanderson sisters, Max is like there as a big brother, and even when he gets mad at her, he like apologizes and tries to give her a good Halloween night going trick-or-treating and whatnot. He's just a really good big brother, so I like seeing stuff like that, especially me being a big brother. Like, yeah, I appreciate that stuff. But excuse me. And then you have the whole aspect of Max and Allison, Allison being kind of the love interest for Max in here. And I'm just like, how old are these kids? And I don't know, they literally sleep together in this movie. Like not sleep together, but like they sleep in the same bed together. And it's just like, again, I'm not conservative or anything. I'm not like a super conservative person, but in a movie like this, it's just like, what kind of message are you trying to send to kids right now? Because man, man. But yeah, I mean, I wish I could say more about this movie than those aspects, but that's the biggest thing that I really took away from rewatching it is just how not for kids this movie really secretly is. So that was a very interesting thing for me to realize while rewatching this movie. But overall, it is a very iconic film. It's a cult classic. People love this movie, and I can see why. But for me personally, it's never been one that I feel like rewatching every Halloween. It's not something I quote every Halloween. I wouldn't dress up as Billy Butcherson or anything like that. But I will say, if I did have a black cat, I'd probably name it Binks. So there you go. Um, But yeah, have you seen Hocus Pocus from 1993? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? I'm definitely more in the middle. I'd probably give this movie about like a 6.5. It's cheesy by today's standards. It was probably even cheesy by, the 90s standards, but it, yeah, there's a lot of lovable aspects in it. So yeah, there's my review for Hocus Pocus. And have you not seen this movie? Are you going to watch this movie for Halloween time this year? Are you going to watch the second one? Why or why not? I'd love to know. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will be back in the next video, most likely reviewing Hocus Pocus 2. So, see you later.